My son skipped his own mother's funeral for anniversary. And now his wife is trying to kick me out of my own home. So I took back the $3 billion company I built, and they swore revenge. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel for more powerful stories, thank you. They say when you lose someone you love, time slows down. You start noticing little details, the way the air feels heavier, the way the house feels too quiet. The morning my wife died, everything was still. Too still. I woke up expecting to hear her in the kitchen making coffee, humming that same old song she always hummed. But the bed beside me was cold. And she wasn't moving. I tried to shake her awake. I whispered her name. I told myself she was just sleeping deeply. But deep down I knew. She was gone. Just like that, the woman I'd built a life with for 45 years, gone. I sat there for a long time, holding her hand, wishing for just one more moment with her. My chest felt like it was caving in. My head was buzzing. Everything felt unreal. But even in that moment, I knew I had to make the hardest phone call of my life. I called my son, Daniel. My only child. When he picked up, I could barely get the words out. Danny, your mom's gone. There was silence on the other end. For a second, I thought he was crying. But then he sighed. Not a sad sigh. An annoyed sigh. Dad. You know it's mine and Emily's anniversary today, right? We've got that trip booked to the island resort. I thought I misheard him. Daniel. Your mother just died. I know, he said, like it was just another piece of news. But Emily's been planning this for months. We can't just cancel. I felt like someone had punched me in the gut. This was his mother. The woman who gave birth to him, raised him, loved him unconditionally. And all he could think about was a beach vacation. I tried again. The funeral. We'll need you here. She'd want you here. I'll send flowers, he replied. But Dad, I'm not ruining our anniversary for this. You understand, right? Understand? I didn't understand at all. In that moment, it was like I was grieving two losses, my wife. And the son I thought I knew. That was the moment a cold truth hit me. Blood might be thicker than water, but greed and selfishness can dry it up faster than you ever imagine. I remember the first time Daniel brought Emily home. She walked in with this big smile, carrying a bottle of wine like she was stepping straight out of a lifestyle magazine. My wife adored her instantly. She said, finally, a girl with manners. I wanted to like her too. I really did. At first, she seemed perfect. She laughed at my bad jokes, asked me questions about the company, even helped my wife in the kitchen. But here's the thing about charm, it's like sugar in coffee. Sweet at first, but if there's too much of it, you start to feel sick. Over time, I noticed little things about Emily. She always wanted to know exactly how much something cost. She asked about my will more than once, like it was casual conversation. She never talked about her own family, but she sure talked a lot about mine. And Daniel. He started changing. My boy, who used to call me for advice on every decision, suddenly needed to check with Emily before doing anything. After my wife passed, Emily's mask slipped completely. She wasn't just Daniel's wife anymore, she was the self-appointed decision-maker for everyone. She started with small comments. Maybe it's time you sold the house. Too much upkeep for you now. You've worked enough, Robert. Daniel can handle the company. You should rest. You deserve to take a step back. Let us take care of things. But every time she said, take care of things, I knew exactly what she meant, take control. And Daniel. He didn't fight her on it. Not once. He'd nod, put his arm around her and say, she's right, Dad. It was like watching someone slowly walk into quicksand. And no matter how much you yell, they don't turn back, they just keep sinking deeper. I didn't know it yet, but Emily wasn't just taking my son away from me. She was getting ready to take everything. It happened 3 weeks after my wife's funeral. I'd spent the afternoon at the cemetery, sitting by her headstone, telling her about my day, like I always did. It was the only thing that still felt normal. When I pulled into the driveway, I noticed a moving truck parked out front. At first, I thought it was for a neighbor. But when I walked inside, strangers were in my living room. 2 men in work boots and a woman with a clipboard were carrying boxes, my boxes. Before I could even ask what was happening, Emily appeared from the hallway with a big smile. Oh, good, you're home. These guys are here to help move some things around. Move some things around? They weren't rearranging furniture. They were packing my belongings, my books, my clothes, even the old armchair I'd sat in for years, into labeled boxes. What is going on here? I asked, trying to keep my voice calm. Emily's smile didn't falter. We're just doing a little renovation. You'll be staying in the guest room while we redo the master bedroom. It's for the best. The guest room. In my own house. That house wasn't just walls and a roof. It was the place where I brought my wife home after our honeymoon. Where we raised Daniel. Where we hosted every Christmas dinner for 30 years. Every corner of it held a memory. I turned to Daniel, who had been leaning against the doorway, arms crossed. Is this your idea? He shrugged. It's just temporary, Dad. Don't make a big deal out of it. Don't make a big deal out of it? They were pushing me out of the master bedroom like I was some tenant whose lease had expired. I stood there, watching as they boxed up decades of my life, and I realized something chilling. This wasn't about a bedroom. This was a test. They were seeing how far they could push me before I pushed back. And if I didn't stop them here, they'd take the whole house next. 35 years ago, I started my company with nothing but $5,000 in savings and a small rented warehouse. No investors. No safety net. Just long nights, calloused hands, and a dream so big it kept me awake. I worked holidays, skipped vacations, and poured every cent I made back into the business. I missed some of Daniel's school plays, some birthdays. But I told myself it was all for him, for our future. And it worked. The company grew. We expanded across the country. Eventually, we went international. By the time I turned 60, the business was worth over $3 billion. 3 years ago, my wife and I made what I now know was a mistake. We gave Daniel the controlling shares. We told ourselves it was to prepare him for the future. He was our only child. We wanted him to have a head start. But there was one problem: Daniel didn't build it. He didn't bleed for it. He didn't understand what it meant to protect something you fought for every single day of your life. After my wife died, Emily moved in on the company like a hawk. She'd whisper to Daniel, "Your dad's ideas are outdated. He's holding the company back. You need to modernize without his interference." And Daniel started believing her. Meetings that I was once invited to began happening without me. Projects I'd approved were suddenly put on hold. Board members who used to call me for guidance now called Daniel directly, and Emily was always there, sitting beside him, smiling like a queen on her throne. The company that had been my life's work was slipping through my fingers. And I had handed them the keys. One night, I stayed late at the office. I was going through some old files when I overheard them in the conference room. Emily's voice was sharp, low, but I could hear every word. "You don't need him, Daniel. You run this company now. All he does is remind everyone of the past. We're the future." Daniel didn't argue. He just nodded. I realized then. This wasn't just about business. Emily wasn't going to stop until she erased me completely, from the company, from the house, maybe even from Daniel's life. And the worst part? She was getting close to succeeding. It was a Tuesday morning. The kind of morning where the sky is gray, the air feels heavy, and you already know in your gut that something bad is about to happen. I was in the kitchen, making myself a cup of coffee, when I noticed an envelope under my bedroom door. Not handwritten. No personal touch. Just my name typed in bold letters. I opened it. Inside was a single sheet of paper. No warmth. No grief. No respect. Just cold words. "For your own comfort, Emily, and I think it's best if you move to the lake cottage. It's quieter there, less work for you. We'll have movers come next week to help with the transition. This will give you space and peace of mind. Love, Daniel." Love, Daniel. Those 3 words felt faker than anything I'd ever read. The lake cottage? That wasn't giving me space. That was exiling me, pushing me away so they could have the house to themselves. I sat down, letter in hand, and felt my chest tighten. This was my son. My only son. And here he was, shoving me out of my own home like I was some unwanted guest. I thought about all the sacrifices I'd made for him. The nights I stayed up working so he'd have a better life. The times I missed out on rest, family trips, and even time with my wife because I was building something for him. The moment I signed over the company shares because I trusted him. And now, this was my thank you. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I didn't even call him. I just sat there in silence, staring at that letter until the coffee in my cup went cold. And that's when something shifted inside me. I realized I'd been playing defense for too long, letting them push, letting them test my limits, letting them think I was too old or too tired to fight back. They thought they were winning. They thought they'd already taken everything from me. But they forgot one thing: I built a $3 billion empire from nothing. And if I could build it, I could take it back. People think revenge starts with anger. It doesn't. Real revenge starts with silence. After I read Daniel's letter, I didn't storm into his office or confront Emily at the dinner table. I didn't send an angry email or make a scene. No, that's what they would have expected. Instead, I poured myself another cup of coffee, sat down at my desk, and pulled out my old black leather notebook. The same one I used when I started the company decades ago. Page 1. Big, bold letters. Take it back, everything. I might have given Daniel controlling shares, but I wasn't stupid when I signed that paperwork. I'd built in safeguards, hidden clauses, fine print, and agreements that Emily didn't even know existed. Clauses that could transfer control back to me if certain conditions were met. Conditions that, thanks to their recent decisions, they had already triggered without realizing it. But this wasn't going to be a one-man job. I needed allies. And I still had plenty. That afternoon, I made 3 phone calls. To James Carter, an old friend and former board member who'd left because of Emily's meddling. To Linda Moore, the lawyer who had drafted the original transfer of ownership. To Thomas Reed, a financial journalist who owed me a favor for saving his career years ago. I didn't tell them everything, not yet. I just said, it's time. I'm taking back the company. Over the next few weeks, I worked in the shadows. I reviewed every document Daniel had signed in the past 2 years. I dug into the company's financials, finding every reckless move Emily had convinced him to make. I gathered statements from employees, quietly recording stories about how Emily had overridden long-standing company policies for her own gain. By the time I was done, I had a file so thick it could crush them in one shareholder meeting. The final move came when Linda found something golden, a loophole in the original agreement. If Daniel's leadership led to a measurable loss in company value within a certain timeframe, I had the legal right to reclaim majority control. Guess what? Their modernization projects had tanked our stock by 18% in 6 months. I didn't need to yell. I didn't need to argue. I just needed one board meeting. And when that day came, they never saw it coming. The board meeting was set for a Monday morning. Daniel walked in wearing a smug smile, Emily trailing behind in a designer dress, her heels clicking against the marble floor like gunshots. They thought it was just another meeting. They didn't know I'd spent the last month setting up the perfect trap. We went through the usual agenda, quarterly reports, projections, until I asked Linda to present a few concerns. She stood up, clicked her remote, and the projector lit up with graphs showing the company's steep decline. Then came the employee complaints, the financial losses, and the failed investments, all tied directly to Daniel and Emily's decisions. Finally, Linda dropped the bomb. Based on the original transfer agreement, Mr. Robert has the right to reclaim majority control effective immediately. The room went silent. Daniel's face drained of color. Emily's smile froze like a mask. I didn't gloat. I didn't need to. I just signed the papers and slid them across the table. Effective today, I'm taking back what's mine. Daniel stood up, his voice shaking. You can't do this. I just did, I replied. Emily didn't say a word, but the way she looked at me told me everything. This wasn't over. And I was right. 2 days later, my car tires were slashed. A week after that, someone filed anonymous complaints to the city about my property, claiming I had unsafe structures on my land. My personal email was hacked, with private messages leaked online to paint me in the worst light possible. It wasn't subtle. They were trying to wear me down. Trying to make me regret crossing them. Daniel stopped calling me Dad. He started calling me Robert in every interaction, even in front of family. Cold, formal, like I was just another enemy. Emily? She took to social media, posting cryptic messages. Some people don't know when their time is up. Karma has a funny way of circling back. This was no longer a family feud. This was war. Most people, when they're under attack, try to hit back fast and hard. You don't win by swinging wildly. You win by letting your enemy think they're winning. Until the floor disappears under them. So I didn't confront Daniel or Emily about the slashed tires, the fake complaints, or the hacked emails. I smiled at them at public events. I even sent them a bottle of champagne for their anniversary. But behind the scenes, I was building a fortress they couldn't break into. First, I called my bank and restructured my accounts. Every cent I had was moved into a trust with airtight legal protection. Then I met with my lawyer to rewrite my will, this time with one very clear clause. Daniel gets nothing. Not a dollar, not a share, not even a keepsake. I also took steps with the house. Emily had been circling it like a vulture for months, so I had the property transferred into my name alone, with a legal lock that made it impossible to contest. Even if I died tomorrow, she wouldn't get her hands on it. And the company? I didn't just take it back. I rebuilt it. I reversed every bad decision they had made, won back our biggest clients, and put our profits back in the green within months. The message was clear, the empire ran just fine without them. But I wasn't just protecting what I had. I was isolating them. I made sure my allies in business and in the community knew exactly how Daniel and Emily had treated me. Without outright smearing them, I simply told the truth. And the truth was enough to close doors they didn't even know existed. The best part? They had no idea how much I'd already taken off the table for them. They thought this was still a fight for the company and the house. They didn't realize I'd already taken away the future they thought they were inheriting. I was patient. I was polite. But I was also done being their victim. It happened at Christmas dinner. I hadn't planned to see Daniel or Emily that day, but my sister insisted I come. She said, "Family's family, Robert. One day you'll regret not trying." I knew I wouldn't regret staying away. But I went anyway. The table was set beautifully. Roast turkey in the center, candles lit, everyone dressed in their best. Daniel sat at the head of the table, Emily at his side, smiling like she was hosting a royal banquet. For a while we made small talk. About the weather, about my cousin's new baby. But then Emily, with that syrupy sweet voice she uses before she says something venomous, turned to me and said, "You know, Robert, sometimes the hardest part about aging is learning to let go. Passing the torch to the next generation." I set my fork down. "You mean giving up what you've spent your life building?" She tilted her head, fake smile still plastered on. "No, I mean knowing when it's time to step aside for people with fresh ideas." The room went quiet. Daniel smirked. "She's right, Dad. You've been clinging to the past for too long." I leaned back in my chair and looked them both in the eye. My voice was calm, but every word was sharp as glass. "Emily, you may have my son's ear, but you will never have my respect. And Daniel, you skipped your own mother's funeral for a vacation. You don't deserve this house, this company, or my name." Daniel's smirk vanished. Emily's cheeks flushed red. You could feel the tension squeezing the air out of the room. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. The truth was heavy enough to crush them without me lifting a finger. After that, dinner went on in awkward silence. Nobody dared say another word about the company or the house. But I could see it in Emily's eyes. This wasn't the end. It was a declaration of war. It's been a year since that Christmas dinner. I haven't spoken to Daniel since. Sometimes I wonder if he ever thinks about his mother, about what she would say if she saw the man he's become. Emily? She moved on faster than I thought. I heard through the grapevine she's already dating another man, wealthy, older, and probably just as blind to her games as Daniel once was. I almost feel sorry for him. Almost. The company is thriving again. The numbers are better than they've been in years. I've surrounded myself with people I trust, people who care about the work, not just the power that comes with it. The house is still mine. Every creak in the floorboards, every picture on the wall, every memory in every corner. Still here. Some nights, I sit by the fireplace with a glass of wine, and I swear I can hear my wife humming in the kitchen again. Do I miss my son? But I've learned something important. Blood doesn't give someone the right to disrespect you, to take from you, or to push you aside. Family isn't defined by DNA. It's defined by love, loyalty, and respect. I built my life's work from nothing. I gave him everything. And when he tried to take it all from me, I showed him exactly what I was capable of. Some might call it revenge. I call it taking back what was mine. And the best part? I didn't just win. I walked away with my head high, my life intact, and my peace restored. Because at the end of the day, I'd rather live alone in a home full of memories than surrounded by people who only stay for what they can take. If this story moved you, please don't forget to give it a like. And if you love emotional, powerful stories like this one, please make sure to subscribe to the channel.